Well, hello friends. Welcome to the Ladybird browser update for December 2023, the last one of the year. It's been another good month in the project. We've worked on all kinds of stuff, so I'm going to tell you about some of the things that we focused on, like we always do, starting with type-isolated GC objects. So this is a security mechanism that we're borrowing from WebKit now, where they call it ISO heaps or subspaces, I think. And the basic idea is that garbage collected objects are now segregated in memory by type. So in practice, that means that once we allocate memory to hold a specific garbage collected object, that address will only ever be reused by objects of the same type. And we achieve that by just keeping the virtual memory forever and negotiating with the kernel to give back sort of the underlying physical memory as needed. And yeah, what this achieves is that if you have a use after free bug in the garbage collector or in the JavaScript engine, then it is no longer possible to turn that into a type confusion exploit because it becomes completely predictable that at that address, you will only ever find an object of that type. And this is very neat, I think. And to opt into this isolation, you have to use the JS declare allocator and JS define allocator macros in the header and implementation, respectively. And if you look around the source code, you can find these all over the place because we are aggressively opting into type isolation as a security mechanism. Another thing, which is new this month, is resizable array buffers. So that was a TC39 proposal that was merged into ECMA 262 proper in October, and Tim has implemented support for it in libjs. So we can now resize array buffers according to spec. Very cool. And another thing I worked on was expanded support for module loading. So there was a big refactor of the way JavaScript module loading works in 2022, I think, where they wanted to share code between the JavaScript and HTML specifications. So they added all these new mechanisms to JS and then used them from HTML. And we were kind of loading modules the old way. But now we're finally caught up to the new way that the specs handle module loading. So we're modeling the spec as it exists today once again, which just makes it so much easier to hack on the engine because we actually follow the spec. And this one is fun. So our HTTPS stack is now the default in Ladybird, which means that when you're loading pages, you are loading with our TLS stack, our HTTP stack, all of that is our implementation. So we've turned it on because we feel like it is pretty stable and pretty performant, but Qt networking is still available with the CLI option. If you are using the Qt-based port, you can opt into that. I think it's -- enable Qt networking, check -- help. But there are definitely going to be some bugs to be found in our stack, and please report, especially if you see request server crashing. That is very, very interesting if you have a reproducible way, or if you see it spinning and churning the CPU, because we're turning it on because we want to find more bugs. We're not turning it on because it's flawless. But yeah, I'm really, really happy that we're doing this because it always felt a little bit like cheating to use Qt for networking. So now that we are out running our own stack in the open, it's very interesting times. Okay, this month we've also made a lot of progress on GPU rendering. This is mostly Alex's work, almost entirely, I would say. Some things of note is that coverage continues to increase, which means more and more web content we're able to render on the GPU. There are a handful of things remaining, but notable new things this month is we can handle border radius, we can handle text shadow, and we can handle arbitrary 2D transforms, which we actually can't do very well on the CPU rendering side. So this is, I think, the first case where the GPU renderer gains capability that the CPU-based renderer doesn't have yet. So that is really cool, I think. And tons of work still to do on GPU rendering, especially in the area of performance, because we are GPU programming beginners and we didn't come into this with a lot of experience, so we're probably doing a lot of things wrong. And if it's something that you know a lot about or would like to learn about, please get in touch and come chat with us on Discord if you want to work on it and if you have ways to improve it, and would like to mess around with it. Definitely open to ideas. But great work by Alex making progress on the GPU rendering. Okay, so some slides with screenshots. Here is the select element, which we finally support in Ladybird. We've been not supporting select for weirdly long while maturing quite far in other areas of the engine. But we finally have select elements, which are obviously very useful on many pages that do use them. So we can, select things, and we even have those, as you can see in the menu I have popped open here, we have like those category headers, whatever they're called, option groups. And I think I even see an HR between some of the items. That's pretty nifty. I think that's a relatively new spec thing. But select element was implemented by Bastian, who not only implemented it in the engine, but also for all the different browser Chromes. And it's definitely becoming a little bit cumbersome sometimes to implement something that needs to interact with the native UI stuff, because we have a couple of different Chromes now, or a couple of different UI implementations. And we're actively looking for ways to consolidate and share code between them. And Tim in particular has been doing a lot of great work on sharing. But it continues to be an issue that adding any kind of UI level feature may require interacting with multiple desktop toolkits. Anyway, thanks to Bastian for implementing select element. This is really awesome. Bastian also did input range. This is our input type range, I should say, which we can now display, although we're not able to manipulate them yet. That is a fix me. So they don't react to mouse events or keyboard events or whatever, but at least we can render them now, which is one step further than we had before. They used to just show up as a little text box with a number in it. So very cool. We've also made progress on web workers this month. We now have cross-process message ports. So as I mentioned last month, we are trying a thing where we're implementing web workers as separate processes, which is something that other browser engines don't do. But we are trying the experiment to see if we can put them in another process instead of in another thread, which is what is traditionally done, just to get that extra isolation and extra separation, because a process boundary is a very nice boundary to have between you and another isolated JavaScript virtual machine. So we're continuing that exploration. We now have cross-process message ports, which we can use to talk to the worker process. And we've continued to improve code sharing between the implementation of messaging, like post-message API, between the worker and window implementations, because they can share a bit more code than we were doing in the past. So this is stuff that Andrew has been working on. Very, very nice progress. And there's been a lot of grunt work underlying this stuff. So very, very nice that Andrew has been digging through the dirty, the dirty underbelly of web workers. Okay, this one is fun. We've got the SVG text path element, which I have to admit, it took me a moment to make a test case, or like to make this demo page, because I had to come up with a path that text would look nice on. Yeah, so this was implemented by MacDo, or Benjamin, which I can never decide if he's MacDo or Benjamin. Maybe both. Yeah, this was implemented by MacDo, and it essentially pathifies the text by consulting with the font, getting getting the different glyphs, putting them along the path like this, and then we're able to fill that path and get this nifty text effect. And maybe we could animate it, actually. It could be kind of cool. But yeah, this was done by MacDo. Very, very nice. Can't say I see it very often on the web, although now that I say that, I probably see it in SVG logos and stuff like that all the time without even realizing. So it is a really cool thing to have, I think. So thank you, MacDo, for implementing it. Some miscellaneous things that I just want to mention. Debug output now has timestamp, process name, and PID. So when you're running Ladybird, it used to be that debug output from all the different helper processes would just be mixed, and you wouldn't know which process was saying what. Andrew has added this little prefix, so it now says which process, what's the PID, and what was the time when the message came out. And this just makes debugging with debugging, like in particular cross-process interactions, a lot easier when you can see who's saying what. And it's kind of funny that we made it this far without having that, but now that we do, it's obvious that we should have it. So thank you, Andrew, for adding that. And Andrew also made it possible to skip flaky tests. We have had some flaky tests this month where, in particular, the macOS CI runner seems to flake on some tests sometimes. And we didn't have a way to skip them before, but now we can actually put them in a skip list, and they don't make the CI read randomly, which can be very frustrating. Anyway, something else with a screenshot is we now have DOM editing in the inspector window. So this is, again, Tim who's been working on this. Tim has been doing a ton of great work with the inspector. He also, just yesterday, improved the IPC that we do between the inspector and the web content so that the IPC is asynchronous. It was previously synchronous, which could lead to deadlocks. It now uses asynchronous APIs. But yeah, new this month is we have a bunch of editing commands. So you can edit attributes, add new attributes. You can change text and create children, clone and delete nodes and stuff. And all kinds of nifty features, which can be super useful when you're debugging something, because you just want to mess around with some of the content on a page that is fully loaded, and you don't want to have to reload the page, which might make the bug go away. So really, really happy that Tim has been continuing to improve our inspector. And yeah, DOM editing, very, very cool. All right, so that's a bunch of slides. Let's do a demo and see sort of where we're at right now with the browser. So let's take a look at some of the websites that we've been working on this month. First one I want to show you is nwx.de. This is a personal website for Network Exception, one of the Serenity OS and Ladybird hackers. And this website is pretty cool because it actually contains a HTML parser written in JavaScript that parses itself and then renders its own source code as tokenized, syntax highlighted, and hoverable for metadata. And yeah, this website was quite an interesting target because it uses a bunch of JavaScript modules. So we had to improve our module support, and then it runs a bunch of JavaScript to do the full HTML parse of itself. But now the end result is that we're able to render this page correctly, and it now takes about 5 seconds to do the full parse and syntax highlighting, and we can definitely do better. There's a lot of work to be done, especially on iteration in JavaScript, which is something that we're not fast at. But it's the fact that it works at all is new, and it used to take well over 10 seconds. So it is something that we've been improving. But I think the page is also really cool, like a page that syntax highlights itself. I don't know. How can you not love it? Anyways, that's nwx.de. And another page that I worked on a bunch was effectgames.com/demos canvas cycle. I think that's HTTP only, actually. So this is an old HTML canvas demo that it's just pleasant to look at. And it's something that I was optimizing WebKit for back in like 2010. And it was fun to come back to it now over a decade later and do some of the same exact optimizations just in libweb and libjs. But this month we got it running real smooth. And not only that, but we got hit testing working on these, so you can actually cycle through the different pictures that they have. Of course, select element now works. So thanks to Bastion, we can go in here and select different picture as well. And yeah, it's just really nice. And I don't think we're capturing it now, but you can actually hear the soundtrack for these scenes as well. So that is pretty cool. And something else that is a very simple page, but something that I'm really happy about anyway, is that Hacker News now has comment pages that actually are readable. So previously, they would just go off horizontally very, very far to the right. And it made the pages very strange. And now, I don't know if it's the first time or we regressed and fixed it again, but comment pages now look pretty reasonable on Hacker News. You can even zoom in and out like this, which is kind of nice. And apparently we are on a comment section about the Sweden solar system. So why don't we visit Wikipedia while we're at it? All right, maybe I'll zoom out. The mouse wheel zoom in and out is pretty nice, by the way. There's our first crash. Corner radius. Okay, wow. That's no bueno. Definitely some issues with painting. We have been working quite a lot on refactoring the way painting works in order to support the GPU rendering. So some bugs lurking for sure. But Wikipedia looking pretty good, I have to say. Scrolling well and everything. Feeling pretty good. So that's nice. I did spot some minor layout blemishes here. These link icons are not in the right place, but on the whole, pretty good. This is a cool article, by the way, if you haven't seen it. It's about a scale model of the solar system that exists in Sweden. Okay, so another page that I worked on a bunch this month was mozilla.org, which is the website for the Mozilla Foundation. We used to crash when loading this page because it was hitting some interesting garbage collector problems that we had. And then I just wanted to make it render and relay out faster as well. So did a couple of things. And as you can see, resizing it just updates very nicely. Even for a fairly complex page, we are getting better at interactive resize. As long as there's not too much JavaScript running. So that is something that I am very happy with. Oh, look, it's a select element. Let's pick a different language and see what happens. Switch to Swedish. Does it work? It worked. Oh, that's really cool. Okay. Anyway, another .org website is urbandictionary.org. So we used to have trouble rendering or is it not .org? Maybe it's not. Okay, my bad. We used to have trouble rendering the words here. So I think the definitions were fine, but we couldn't render these because they were using CSS font face combined with Unicode ranges. So they have coverage for like all kinds of alphabets, right? Not just Latin. And then they use the same font family name, but they load from different font face URLs depending on which glyph you want to render. And that's a whole thing that happens all over the web. And for the first time now, we actually support it. So Alex implemented CSS Unicode ranges support. So now when we are doing text layout, we can actually choose a glyph from a different source if Unicode ranges tells us to do it. So that's really awesome. And in fact, that also makes Substack work. So if I go to like Arthi and Sriram's Substack, which I think is .com. Then, well, we now get text. Previously, we would just get like these little missing glyph box icons. Oh, look at that. Some kind of console.log message, I guess, for Web Inspector visitors. But yeah, so we now have text showing on Substack. This looks perhaps like the layout needs a little work here. But huge improvement over just seeing boxes, obviously. Look at that. That button looks a little off also. More layout work for us. Anyway, the final thing that I wanted to show you is I mentioned arbitrary 2D transforms, but I didn't actually show you any demonstrations of that. So we have, I think here, there's a test page for transforms. So we have a whole bunch of them, and you can see here we're animating transforms, but this is without the GPU. So now this is what it looks like on the CPU. This is a rotate X transform, rotate Y, but as you can see, it's not really rotating. Here's an arbitrary Z rotate. Yeah, it looks a little goofy. And if I switch to using the GPU version, then we can see a bit more interesting stuff. So here's an actual rotate. Here's I think we can animate 3D matrix as well. Look at that. Yeah, so I'm not actually sure that there might be some transform functionality that we're missing. It also looks like we're not painting the outermost line here for some reason, because it's supposed to be a black border all around. But the fact that we can do these transforms at all is new with the GPU painter. So we should probably implement arbitrary 2D transform painting on the CPU as well. But with the GPU, it's so simple because you can just transform the GL context. Anyway, just wanted to show you that as well. That's really cool. So thank you, Alex, for working on that. And that's everything I wanted to show you today. So thank you so much for checking in and staying up to date with the project. It has been an amazing 2023 for Ladybird. We've had so many people doing such awesome work on the browser and all of the supporting stack underneath. We've had amazing financial support. We've got all these new sponsors. So like Shopify, Onemakler, and the large and small anonymous and non-anonymous sponsors. Absolutely crazy year with all the financial support. I hired 2 people to help me work on it. That's been absolutely great. And I'm really excited about 2024. There's going to be some truly awesome stuff next year, and I'm so excited, but I'm not quite ready to talk about it yet. But to be continued. Anyways, thank you all so much for 2023. It was awesome. Next year is going to be awesomer, I think. Thanks for coming by. Happy New Year. See you all next time.